Ah. Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining me today. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about global warming. So, everybody knows what global warming is, but usually, when it's talked about, it's accompanied with pictures of the earth on fire, overheating, like I have pictured here on the TV. But that is not an exaggeration. According to the United Nations, global warming is the unusual rapid increase of the Earth's average surface temperature due to greenhouse gases being released by people burning fossil fuels in our environment. So everybody knows about global warming. It's as important as politics, and it's as talked about as LGBTQ rights and abortion rights. And there have been acts and laws made about it, and there have been riots and protests about it. And for the past 13 weeks, my group has been doing research on global warming. Global warming is a serious problem, and we need to help come up with a solution for it. So, some of the different causes of global warming are carbon emissions from factories being built to make goods, and the cutting down of trees in surrounding areas, as well as extreme temperatures. And then the effects that these causes have um, are rising water levels, hotter temperatures, and we have a lot of more aggressive storms, and they're a lot worse than they used to be in the past due to climate change and global warming. And now I want to focus on the effects that global warming has on marine life. Um, Due to global warming, there is a huge amount of carbon monoxide and hydrogen sulfide that's released into the atmosphere, as well as methane. And because of global warming, ocean acidification is lowered and oxygen concentration is also lowered, which leads to rapid environmental transformation. And then the corals are being bleached rapidly and now resembling graveyards in our different oceans, such as the Indian Ocean, the Western, and the Pacific Oceans. And these Caribbean corals as well are crucial for protecting coastlines, and these are extremely endangered now. And according to Future Now, the fish that are dependent on these coral ecosystems that I mentioned suffer now because their environment is tampered with. And Australia's Great Barrier Reef collapse could impact the livelihood of the tourists that visit that area. And now I want to discuss how global warming affects the Arctic and the animals in that area. According to IFAW, and an article that they produced about the impact of climate change on our planet and its animals, environmental awareness is extremely important to our Earth for many different reasons. One is because all of our essential resources that are best for our well being and quality of life are coming from this Earth. And these resources include the fresh air that we breathe, clean water that we drink, and the healthy soil that we plant all of our food in, along with all the different plants and animals that make our planet so rich and diverse, and they can't prosper if we don't take care of the earth. And then the different rising temperatures again affect the vegetation and food sources that we have and our access to water. And then these ecosystems become inhabitable for these animals that we need just to help life circulate. And these animals are forced to migrate to different conditions where they can't live and they can't adapt to the climate, and food isn't available and the conditions are not livable. So then the animals die off, and then we have too many endangered species. Um, According to Dorcher, Arctic animals are highly evolved to extreme temperatures, but with that being said, they have a very limited capacity to adapt to change. And polar bears are one of the few animals that can be excluded from that. They have been amazing about adapting to the change that's been happening to their environment over time. But with that being said, it's still hard for them to be able to scavenge for food or have children or be able to live a complete cycle in their area. Most of the time, they have to move before they can even do so. And now I want to focus on how global warming affects developing countries. In developing countries, because they're severely affected by climate change, um, they have a lot more emissions of greenhouse gases, and annually they contribute to half of the greenhouse gas emission that happens in the world. And because they don't have because some of these other countries are low income, they're forced to cook with open fires or insufficient equipment, like insufficient stoves, which means that they're burning more fossil fuels than we do in our country. And these harmful chemicals that they're burning are going into the air, which is one of the main causes of global warming. And this contributes to 25% of the emissions that are put out. And this is a huge contributor to climate change, besides carbon dioxide. Um, Between 2030 and 2050, climate change is expected to cause approximately 250,000 additional deaths per year under nutrition, malaria, disease, and heat stress. According to NASA, since 1995, there have been 17 above normal Atlantic hurricane seasons. And again, the weather is severely affected and the heat temperatures are severely affected by the different carbon emissions and all the things that are going into the air over time. And they have something called an ACE that calculates the intensity of hurricanes, and they've been measuring over the years that the wind speed and duration of the cycles have been getting worse. And now I'm going to go over some of the solutions that me and my group have come up with over the past 13 weeks that we've been using to go ahead and battle climate change and global warming. So, solution number one is that government loans stoves to these third world countries to help lower the carbon emissions that they're putting out. Now, this would be a very high cost solution and it's not a very feasible one, but it doesn't have that many negative possible consequences, and it wouldn't take a ton of time to implement a project like this. And we do have the resources available here to help those other countries, and we do have the money available, and it would be extremely effective. But it would not be very publicly accepted just because a lot of people would not want to contribute the money to go towards a project like that. Solution number two that we came up with was reducing the consumption of beef. And this is, again, because a lot of methane being released into the atmosphere is one of the main contributors to global warming. And killing cows releases a lot of methane. So if we eat less beef, then there will be less methane being released. However, um, this would not be a very publicly accepted option, especially in America where people love to eat beef and steak and hamburger, and we have a lot of fast food places. Even though it wouldn't be very costly at all, and it would be a very feasible option, and it's not going to have very many consequences at all, it would take a lot of time, and again, would not be very publicly accepted, regardless of it being a very good solution. But we do have the resources available for it, and it would be extremely effective, regardless of the public acceptance rate being low. And solution number three that we came up with, which we decided was our best and most feasible solution and something that we could easily implement, would be to plant more trees. And this is to absorb more carbon. This is not a costly solution at all. It would be the most feasible, like I said. It doesn't have really any negative consequences. However, it would take a lot of time because it does take trees a long time to grow. It's not something that you could just plant and have ready the next day. But we do have the resources available and it would be extremely effective, and we think that it would be the most publicly accepted as well. And then our last solution that we came up with would be to reduce the amount of driving that's contributed. And however, this does not mean to use electric cars. Electric cars have lithium batteries, and when they explode, what they put into the environment is almost 1,000 times worse than all of the other carbon emissions that end up in the environment. So we suggest just driving less, even though it would be costly and it's not very feasible and would have more negative consequences, and the public would be very against the decision. It would be very effective, and we do have the resources available. And in conclusion, I just wanted to say that even though a lot of people might not think that global warming is a very prevalent issue, it is very important because, like I said, all of our resources come from this earth, and if we don't take care of it, we aren't going to have any of those resources left to survive. So we just need to make it a habit to at least try to put an effort towards some of these things that we can do to reduce global warming. And if we put a little bit of effort in towards some of these things and we do it right, we can end up saving our world even a little bit at a time.